to be here with every single one of you, and really looking forward to today's actually, because today we're going to talk about one of my favorite books. And before we go ahead and get going, let's go ahead and cover a couple of things that we have to talk about, which is tomorrow we have our leadership call with Mr. Danny Bay. Let's get ourselves to Influencer 100. If you're not Influencer 100 yet, one on the left, one on the right to qualify for Mr. Danny Bay's leadership training is going to come tomorrow. This individual is an incredible leader. You know what impressed me most about Mr. Danny Bay? Well, one of the things that impressed me about him is the fact that he leaves no stone unturned. Every opportunity that there is for him to advance his position within GPS and advance GPS for our sakes and for the company, he takes it. He takes every opportunity. He leaves no stone unturned. I mean, that's a leader. That's what leaders do. So let's get ourselves tomorrow to associate ourselves with this leader, incredible leader like Mr. Danny Bay, so we can spend a little bit of time with him. Because the more time we can spend with leaders, I mean, you become the average of the 5 people you hang around with. How much would you love to spend a day with Mr. Danny Bay? To spend a couple of days with Mr. I mean, I know I would love that. To be able to learn from him, shadow him, and learn what he does, learn his daily routine, his discipline, see what he does throughout his meetings and how he handles situations. I mean, how many of us would love to do that with many of the leaders, right? So we have a founder that is absolutely just the best of the best founder. And I'm telling you, this is as best as it comes. And I'm just an honor and it's a privilege for me to this day to be working with such an incredible individual like our founder and chairman, Mr. Danny Bay. So tomorrow we have our leadership training with Mr. Danny Bay. Tonight we have our presentations. So remember, we have a presentation almost every single hour. I'm going to post it all. Not every single hour. At 7 o'clock on every single time zone. 7 p.m. every single time zone. We will have a presentation that you're able to invite to, and I'll be posting the links on the Facebook group today, and also on the Telegram chat. So stay tuned for that. And then of course Saturday training. It's the incredible thing for us to follow up. You know, as I do 3-way calls and people see a presentation, I did a 3-way call with Miss Mickey I think it was yesterday. We did a 3-way call, and the lady loved it all, saw the presentation, everything was great, but she wasn't quite ready. So hey, guess what? I promoted the Saturday training. I said, hey, listen, it's great that you like this, but on this Saturday, we have this individual, and I edify Mr. Michael on. I said, we edify individual that it's going to be teaching marketing strategies and how to build this business. You saw what we do. Saturday, we're going to teach you how do we do it, how to build a multi-million-dollar business. And the individual that's going to be teaching this is someone who has already 15 years of experience and has a history of creating hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, and is a multi-millionaire, and will be teaching marketing strategies on how to build this business. That's going to happen this Saturday. So I would like to extend an invitation for you so you can see this for yourself and you can seize it. And usually trainings like these cost thousands and thousands of dollars, but we're giving you an invitation for free. So I promoted, I built value, and I'm creating a follow-up. Again, the fortune's in the follow-up. The more information people know, the more confident people have, the more people get started. Very, very simple. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk today about the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And we're not going to go over every single law today because we won't have time. But we are going to cover the first 10, and if we can, the first 12 laws of a book called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. One of my favorite books in all time, written by John Maxwell. That really, to this day, it's a classic, and to this day, it's one of the #1 leadership books there is. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over this information right now. But here's the first thing I want to share with you. Law number 1 is called the law of the lid, and I read to you a couple of things that I have here. In fact, I'll share my screen with you. That way, you guys can see it. Some of you are driving. Some of you are. So don't try to read the screen, okay? Just listen to me. So stay safe out there. Let me go ahead and share this with you guys. Okay, here we go. 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And I highlighted a couple of things. I'm not going to go over this whole thing because it's just too much information to go over at the same time. But I do want to go over a couple of things. Here's the first thing I want to go over. Law number one is the law of the lid. And here's what it says. John Maxwell writes, leadership's ability is the lid that determines the person's level of effectiveness. The lower an individual ability to lead, the lower the lid on his potential. The higher the individual's ability to lead, the higher the lid on his potential. To give you an example, if your leadership rate is at 8, then your effectiveness can never be greater than 7. Your leadership ability, for better or worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact on your organization. Here's what I say. We have to raise the lid on ourselves. In order for us to be able to attract other people, in order for us to be able to get to the level of our lives, we have to raise the lid. How do we do this? Well, first thing we have to see that if you can imagine a top line, and then you can imagine a bottom line, and there's this gap in the middle. The gap between where you're at and where you want to go, that gap right there, that gap is called change. In other words, you and I, we have to change. We have to embrace change. Change is good. You know, Jim Brown said it best. For things to get better, guess what? You have to get better. We have to get better. For things to change, guess what? We have to change. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skill. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. So it's all on us. And it's our responsibility as leaders to raise the lid in our organization. And by the way, yeah, I just received a text message from Devon. Do you want me to text you this? This right here, by the way, this is a study course to do a coaching. So I'll be happy to share with everybody, by the way. So if you want to send me your email, I'll email you this coaching package for you guys, okay? So you can just type your email for me, either text it to me or send it to me on the Telegram chat or something, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you, okay? But the law of the lid tells us that we have to grow. This has to be intentional. It cannot be an accident. You don't stumble in success. Success is intentional. Growth is intentional. So every single one of us right now at this very moment, what you're doing, but coming and meeting me and getting together every single morning for this Rising Leaders call, this is you working on your lid, what you're doing right now. And one of the examples that John Maxwell gives that I love is the example of when you put let's say you take a flea, okay, and you take a flea and you put it in a jar, and you put a top in that jar. The flea starts hitting itself because it's trying to jump out of the jar. Eventually, the flea figures out, hey man, this hurts. So he stops jumping just enough for that flea not to hit the lid. Now you remove the lid from that jar. Here's what happens. That flea is conditioned to never again jump higher than that jar is, than the lid. Now we're not fleas, but here's what I can share with you. We are conditioned. We do condition ourselves, and this is why continuing work, continuing hunger on your growth has to be prerequisite for your life. You got to be hungry for it. You got to be passionate and just obsessive about knowing more about yourself, discovering more about who you are, learning more what your fears are, what your strengths are, these things. And really, it's a whole process of growth. You got to be hungry for these things. We're not a flea. We are conditioned, but we can change, we can grow, we can become better. And the higher our lid, the higher our ability to lead will be. Let's go to the next law. The next law is the law of influence. Here's what John Maxwell writes. The true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. When a real leader speaks, the people listen. Remember, if you think you are leading and no one is following, you're just taking a walk. That's what leadership is. Leadership is influence, nothing less, nothing more. And what we can talk about here, and I tell you, just to give you a couple of factors. There are 7 factors of leadership to improve your influence. Okay, because influence can be improved upon. Okay, you might not have influence right now with someone, but you can improve that influence. And something to know about influence too is that your influence changes within categories, right? There are different categories in your life. Maybe in health, you have a level of influence. Maybe in finances, you have a level of influence with people. Even maybe some people you do influence, other people's you don't. So there's different verticals and for you to be able to influence other people. But there are 7 factors. Character. People can sense truth and integrity. If you're a man of character, that develops influence as you are building those relationships with people. Number 2 is relationships. Surround yourself with the right people, but it's depositing on good relationships, right? The more you deposit, you put in other people's lives, the more influence you're gonna have on other people. I have a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine that I haven't seen literally almost in a year, and I'm like, I'm mad at myself because I did not. But COVID happened, all these things happened. So I text them 3 days ago, say, hey guys, it's been too long, and more time will pass by if we don't get together. They both reply immediately, you're right, let's get together. We got it together yesterday. And then that was just me filling up the tank, filling up the relationship tank, because I want that friendship and that influence to stay strong. Knowledge, right? If you know something, if you're knowledgeable, you have influence over people too, because they respect you. So study, learn, know the fact, do your homework. Intuition, right? If people know you as a person that just has the magic touch, right? That magic touch of timing and momentum, that magic touch, people have influence over people. People see that or experience. Some people are just know you have experience, right? If you have, let's say, we're talking to someone like Elon Musk about rocket building, that person will have a lot of influence over us. I mean, he'll have a lot of influence over us over everything, right? Especially finances. Past success, right? People look at your past success, and you can increase your influence over people. And of course, your abilities, increasing your abilities. These things right here, it helps us also in creating more influence in other people's, increasing our influence in other people's lives. Okay, here's the next law, the law of process. Becoming a leader, here's what John Maxwell says. Becoming a leader, it's a lot like investing successfully in the stock market. If you hope to make the fortune in a day, you're not going to be successful. There are no successful day traders. In leadership development, what matters most is what you do day by day over a long haul. One of my favorite stories is a biblical story. My grandmother used to read it to me all the time. And I remember it's the story of Joseph. If you remember the story of Joseph, it's a story of process, right? He became second in command to Egypt during the reign of Egypt. Egypt was the most powerful nation in the world for thousands of years. They were the most powerful. He became second in command, only second to Pharaoh. And how did he get there? How did a Jewish had not even Egyptian became second in command? The process very quickly. He first had a dream, right? The dream he told his brothers that they would be bowing down. They didn't like that, and the brothers beat him up and threw him down the well, left him for dead. Process. Then the brothers got kind of like, they felt bad about it. So they picked him up from the well, but and Joseph probably thought, oh, finally they came to their senses. They're coming for me. No. They sold him to slavery because a caravan was passing by. Process. So during that caravan that was passing by, he got sold to the house of Potiphar, and so he got sold to that house, and great. It was a process. He was there for years. The mistress tried to seduce him, and then wrongfully accused, he was thrown in jail. Process. In jail, he's there for years in jail. Process. He then he almost died in jail, actually, and that was all process. And then essentially, after interpreting the dream of Pharaoh, he became second in command to Egypt. All that process happened. In fact, in the story goes that in the good book, the story says that when he was reunited with his brothers, because there was a famine all throughout the land, and the only nation that had food was Egypt, because they stored all their food, all the seeds away. When their brothers came back and they found out that he was Joseph, they were scared. And Joseph said to them that it's okay, because this was the process of the Lord. This was meant to be, to save people's lives. So everything in life that we accomplish has a process. And this is what the law of the process thing lets us know, that leadership is development is a process. Okay, so here's the next one. Chapter 4, or law number 4, the law of navigation. Anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. You see, this is about preparation. The law of navigation tells us that you gotta have a mindset of preparation. There's no leader out there that's a leader without them being fully prepared. I love what Les Brown says. He says, it is better to prepare for an opportunity and not have one than to have one and not be prepared. So every single day is an opportunity to prepare yourself. Every single day, every single one of us, we need to keep doing this. We need to be working on personal development. We need to be working on our skill set, listening to books, audiobooks, YouTube videos, on network marketing and inviting and marketing, in order for you to prepare to lead a team. Because as a leader, I want to share with you, as a leader, we don't have rights to make a mistake. Now, we make mistakes. That's okay. But at the same time, we don't have a right to make a mistake. Because every mistake we make can affect 10, 20, 40, 100 people, 5,000 people, and some organizations, 10,000, 100,000 people. So as a leader, you got to follow the law of navigation. We have to follow the law of navigation and be prepared. We prepare ourselves and constantly be working on our skill set, on our leadership, and through preparation. Let's look at the next one. The law of addition. The law number 5. Law of addition. Here's what John Maxwell writes. The bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. Remember, leaders add value to others by serving others. So are you making things better for the people who follow you? Are you a taker or a giver? Are you a person that is constantly depositing other people's lives? Are you taking from people's lives? That's the law of addition. Me and you and I have to develop an identity that we're going to add value to other people's lives. How do you know that he did a highlight? He said, commit here to make it practice for those to find 10 people today and just add value to them. Do something. Send them a video you loved. Give them a compliment. Find a post and compliment their post and comment on their post, a sincere post that can touch their heart. Add value. Bring somebody up. Today, go ahead and do that. If you desire to add value by serving others, you will become a better leader, John Maxwell says. Let's talk about the next one. Okay. The law of solid ground makes trust possible, and trust makes leadership possible. That is the law of solid ground. Trust is a foundation of business, by the way, of leadership. if sometimes people say, well, David, people are not joining my business. Well, it could be that you don't have solid ground with them. In other words, you don't have a foundation of trust with them. They just don't trust you. It's okay, because guess what? You can build trust with people. You can build trust with people. Here's what John Maxwell writes. Trust is like the change in a leader's pocket. Each time you make good leadership decisions, you earn more change. Each time you make poor decisions, you pay out some of the change to the people. All leaders have a certain amount of change in their pockets when they start in a new leadership position. When you're out of change, you're out of leaders. You're out as the leader. So as people don't trust you, you can't lead. So you got to create trust. So the question is, how can you create trust in other people? Well, one thing is keeping your word, right? Having integrity, being there for people. Let them know that you are a reliable leader, a leader that keeps their word, a leader that plants their flag. Nobody likes a wishy-washy leader. And we all want to follow a leader that knows where they're going, we know it has integrity. We know we can trust. We know that this person, when this person does something, they do it. That's the type of leader we want to follow. So we want to become those type of leaders. Here's the next one. The law of respect. People naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. And this is great, because in the law of respect, what John Maxwell is saying here, let's say that you have a group of people, and let's give some numbers in the leadership lid, right? From 1 to 10, something. So if you have, let's say, 100 people, and they all have a number from 1 to 10 in their leadership lid, the 10s will always be up front, but the 9s will be right underneath the 10. The 8s will be, and everybody will organize themselves in that hierarchy of leadership. There's something that happens within a tribe, by the way. This is just tribal leadership that we have essentially have really gone ourselves and through evolutionize ourselves into do that. We grew up into tribal creatures and mammals, so we automatically do this. By the respect level, we then are able to then for a hierarchy, we align ourselves in the hierarchy of the person that has the most lead. And I think it's important for us to understand that here's what's important also is that you can increase your respect. In every law here, you can increase it. You can work on it and become better. Okay, here's the next one. Leaders, the law of intuition. Leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. Let's study this. Here's what John Maxwell says. As a leader has to read the situation and know instinctively what play to call. And I highlight a couple of things here. As a leader, you have to drill, learn, practice, and know. How do you get intuition, first of all? Let's talk about that. Intuition comes from what? Experience. Experience, right? Where does experience come from? Experience comes from doing mistakes. So there's a great saying that says it's the saying where experience comes from bad judgment. Bad judgment, well, bad judgment. As we are going out there and making decisions, we're gonna have bad judgments. That feeds our experience. So experience comes from bad judgment. Bad judgment comes from experience. And so we have to know that we just have to go out there and have more experience. The more experience you have, the more intuition you're gonna develop, and the more things are gonna happen. I mean, after years of doing this, I can look at something now and look at the pipeline and see where people are missing their pipeline, right? You have from invitation, presentation, closing, follow-up, launching, and training. That's the pipeline. I can just by looking at someone's organization, I can see, hey, where's the pipeline? Where's the whole pipeline? all that, it comes from experience. It came from knowledge. It came from, as network marketers and as professionals, you develop this by really just going through bad judgment, and essentially your intuition develops. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm trying to hurry because I know. Oh, good. The law of magnetism. Law number 9. You are who you are is who you attract. We all choose people, the people we want to be near, but who you are is who you attract. And this is an incredible law for every single one of us, because the law of magnetism especially applies in our industry. If the greatest recruiter that ever lived were always the great sages, right? The great sages were always the greatest recruiters. Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus, all the great spiritual leaders, Lao Tzu, all these great leaders that have tremendous amount of following. But listen, if we look at Jesus, his recruiting script was this. When he went to go recruit, he says, "You follow me." That's what his recruiting script was. It wasn't for what he said. It was for who he was that he didn't have to say. It was for all that he represented. It was, he had the law of magnetism. He attracted people that are in the same vibrational energy, looking for the way, looking for the truth. So who you are is who you attract. And what's great, again, you can become whoever you want to become. It's up to you. The qualities you are looking for in a person that you will include in your inner circle. What are the qualities you're looking for? What qualities are you looking for in a business relationship? What qualities are you looking for in a personal relationship? Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we have those qualities? Or how can we start? If we don't, oh, good. Can we start developing? How can we start developing those qualities? How can we start focusing on those qualities? Write down the values that you want to attract in your organization, and write down those values. And in those values, now you start focusing on those values. And that's the people you start attracting. And it's a process. The law of process is true. It holds true with this. So you list above the qualities that you're looking for inside of you, and you're looking for an outside for your organization, and then you focus on what you go to work on. What you go to work. I go to work on me in this entire process. So it's 10:29, guys. So I'm gonna leave it right here, and tomorrow we'll continue the other half of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Thank you very much. I'm gonna stop the recording now.